bring everybody up to speed. So what's happened is that another change was made, not to the legislation, but it was made to the guidance. So that just to bring you up to speed, we are, just so that you know, I know that Roberta and Joe know this anyway. I've been speaking to a wonderful lawyer who also happens to be a practitioner. She has a very good friend who's right at the coalface in the government writing the legislation. So this is really, really good for us, because it means that we know kind of what's coming up now, which puts us in a much better position, really. So the thing is that what's actually happened is that we've made some changes to the guidance that we had on the site. Megan updated it 2 days ago. I've just updated it again today. And what's actually happened is that the legislation stays the same. So the legislation, hi Jill, Jill's just joined us, Jill, lovely Jill Swires, hello Jill, hi love. Yeah, so the legislation is still the same, but the government's guidance has changed. And also there's a very confusing piece about homeopathy, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine and herbal medicines, which has just sprung up from absolutely nowhere, it seems. But we've looked at the wording very, very carefully. And the wording in that bit actually looks, comes under retail. And at first it looks as though people, they've taken out, and said homeopaths, herbalists, Ayurvedic practitioners, and homeopathy, Ayurveda, herbal medicine, and what was the other one? TCM can't practice, but it's not that at all. It's that you're not allowed to dispense remedies. So if you were a pharmacy, you're not allowed to dispense, but you are allowed to do click and collect. So we got legal clarification on that as well, and actual government guidance on it. And our person who's in doing the guidance has looked at it and said, actually, this would be okay if you were a homeopath and you had somebody with you, because homeopaths are allowed to practice, you had somebody with you and you were to then give them a remedy, that would still count as click and collect. So there's no legislation on this, it's all guidance. And guidance is designed by the government to clarify the legislation. The legislation itself has not changed since all of the legislation that we advised you about when Tier 4 happened. Okay, so this is so there's a lot of people getting really sort of worried about things, and there's no necessity. So
you could blend for somebody if what you discussed last week was the fact that we, in a pain relieving mode, would be allowed to practice. So if you were helping someone out with a lot of pain, you could blend for them.
Exactly, Pip. And I'm going to share, yes, that's right. And I'm going to share my screen in a moment, because they've actually changed that as well. And it actually opens the door for us even more. Excellent. So it's really good news. It's really exciting. I wish there were more people on the call, because finally I've got some actual news for you. So this is quite exciting. So what I think we probably ought to do, if that's okay with you everybody, I'm going to go into screen share mode, and I'm going to try to navigate and try to find the CMA website. I've got so many bits and pieces open. One sec. Let me just see if I can find Safari. Yes, this is Safari. Okay, so let me just go into that, and let me move ourselves over. Right, here we go. It's all right, I don't want to make you dizzy. Okay, so this is the this is the news. This is the CMA COVID page, and we get charming. Come on, back you come. Right, so we get to this. Let's go to the home page so you know exactly how to find this. So this is from the home page, okay? And then what we do is we click on the coronavirus link, right front and center of the home page. And then what Megan has very kindly done is she's put up quick links. So this is for the government guidance not legislation, but guidance across the different countries. Now, what I've done today to clarify yesterday's changes is I've put this update here, 15th of January today. Okay, so let me talk you through exactly what's what. And we've taken advice on this. And so we do know that this is absolutely correct. And it is actually really good news for us. So here we go. And what I've done is I've put the links in. So if anybody feels so inclined, what they can do is actually follow the links and read the guidance for themselves. If, however, you don't want to do that, we've done it for you. So you don't have to go through the pain and stress of doing all of that, because it's a bit of a blooming nightmare, I'll be honest with you. Right, so what I said today was following the guidance to gov.uk guidance, following the update, helpful if I could read, following the update to gov.uk guidance issued yesterday, 14th of Jan, we can report that there have been a few changes to the guidance itself, but no further updates to the actual legislation. The legislation document is this link here. Can you guys see my mouse moving?
Yes.
Great. Oh, that's really helpful. So if you want to go and wade through the legislation of the legislative document and actually see all of the amendments as they come through live, that's the link to do that. I don't advise it, because you look at it and you think, it's vile. I mean, it's really confusing. But anyway, it's there if you want it, because we do belt and braces here. So these all relate to the complementary medical and natural health sector. In this document today, we aim to assist with clarification for you based on our thorough investigation of the various guidance documents and legislation and our interpretation of these. As always, we remind you it's a fluid situation and things are changing rapidly. Overall, it's essential that you are operating within the law, and we strongly recommend that you maintain a robust paper trail which demonstrates that you are following the legislation and the guidelines. Furthermore, please liaise with your insurer to ensure that your coverage is slid in place should you continue to teach or practice at this time. Now, I should tell you, we recommend Baylands and also Westminster, and we've not had any information from them telling us that anything in their policies has changed. So as far as we're concerned, as far as they're concerned, there's been no change. Okay, so you should be absolutely fine. But just to sort of, that paper trail and belt and braces that I always recommend, I personally would dash off a quick email to my insurer just to say, just checking with you, can you please confirm? Get it in writing, they're happy for you, they're happy to still cover you. There shouldn't be any reason why they shouldn't be. As I say, there's been no legislative change since we went into Tier 4, and we advised you all about that. So we're presenting the information today to you in such a way so that you can see how the guidance is shown on the gov.uk site, so that you can understand how to track it through for yourself if you choose to do so. Now, what you've got to understand is what I'm talking about here today as this example piece is that this is the legislation for it's gov.uk, so it's across the UK at the moment. Okay, now there may be nuances and slight differences in this is for England, but there might be slight nuances for Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, but overall this is the government legislation, so it should actually apply to all of the countries. Okay, so finally, our analysis indicates that all disciplines can be delivered in a safe, socially distanced manner within the law, and guidelines may continue to operate. If you offer hands-on treatments such as massage, please look at the final paragraph of this update below, where it sets out who you may continue to treat and the caveats to that. So I'll come on to that, and I just want to go through this first because I've got to sort of set it out for you sort of bit by bit by bit, so you know where to go on the government sites. This is helpful. I know it sounds a bit nitpicky, but I think it's really important to make sure you know exactly how this has all come about. Okay, so remember that the legislation that is enforceable clearly exempts from closure businesses in the following categories. So these are the businesses that don't have to close according to the legislation: dental services, opticians, audiology services, chiropody, chiropractors, osteopaths, and other medical or health services, including services which incorporate personal care services and treatments required by those with disabilities, and services relating to mental health, but not beauty salons or massage parlors. Well, in the Complementary Medical Association, we're not doing either of those, are we? So if you look at the way it's written here, including services which incorporate personal care services and treatments required by those with disabilities and services relating to mental health and health, other medical and health services. So that opens it up for us. In fact, this was the same as was the case for Tier 4 areas before the national lockdown. Now, there's a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of people saying, oh, we're not in Tier 4 anymore, we're in Tier 5, it's a national lockdown. That's incorrect. The newspapers were all going up because obviously newspapers have to get everybody terribly frightened and in, you know, a total state of overwhelm and alarm. The newspapers and the media were saying, oh, what's going to happen if we go into Tier 5? Tier 5, Tier 5, Tier 5. There is no Tier 5. There has been no announcement of Tier 5 apart from, I believe, in Scotland. But in the UK, it's in the majority of the UK, apart from Scotland. And Roberta, I think you can confirm whether that's correct or not. But in England, there is no Tier 5. We're all still in Tier 4. I believe the same is for Wales and Northern Ireland. Okay, so I just want to remind you that we're in national lockdown, but it's technically still Tier 4. So the government guidance that's still up on their website, when you go to it, you'll see it says Tier 4. Don't be alarmed by that because we're not in Tier 5. Okay, there is no such thing at the moment in England. Right. So the guidance is then intended to help clarify the intention of the legislation. So that's the government guidance, the government website, gov.uk, that it just clarifies the legislation. So that's all it does, which is why the legislation can say one thing and then the guidance tries to extrapolate. They try to explain what the legislation actually means. So the first guidance document to look at is here. This is national lockdown, stay at home. This tells us what we can and cannot do at this time. I'm not going to go through that because it's a lot of things like you can't go to church, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't go to a shop, da da da. Okay, so we're not going to go through that because it doesn't apply directly to us, except for a little bit further down. There's a link that says businesses which can remain open. So that's that link there that you can chase that through. The document says that medical and dental health services may remain open. Also, just a little further down the page under healthcare and public services, you'll see that they state the following. The NHS and medical services remain open, including dental services, opticians, audiology, chiropody, chiropractors, osteopaths, and other medical or health services, including services related to mental health. So previously, they actually put massage in there and body work, but they've taken it out, but it's okay because it's dealt with a little bit further down. From this page, if you go to that page, from this page, there's another link that takes you to further businesses and premises to close, closing certain businesses and venues in England. This page also deals with, counterintuitively, it also deals with businesses allowed to stay open. And so under the retail heading, there's a paragraph that says retail. This includes dental services, opticians, audiology services, chiropody, chiropractors, osteopaths, and other medical or health services, including services relating to mental health. So they've got it again, you see. So it's quite interesting. You see where this is going. Further down the page, under another heading called Personal Care Facilities and Close Contact Services. This is where our hands-on practitioners come in. You'll see the following. This is new. Personal care facilities and close contact services must close. This includes hair, beauty and nail salons, tattoo parlors, spas, saunas and steam rooms, massage centers, body and skin piercing services, tanning salons. Now, massage centers is quite interesting because what they've done there is they have listened to what we asked them to do. We asked them to change that ghastly word massage parlor. They haven't changed it earlier on, that you noticed, because it did actually still, they haven't got around to doing that yet. But this is what they mean by massage centers. And moving on now even further, these venues may continue to sell retail goods such as shampoo or beauty products online or via click and collect. Those who provide, this is for us, okay? Those who provide personal care services from a mobile setting, including their own home, in other people's homes and in retail environments must also stop operating. However, personal care services provided for essential medical and health needs, which cannot be deferred, may continue. For example, treatments for a diagnosed health condition or injury that is currently causing severe pain or mobility issues or severely impacting quality of life, or for cosmetic treatments associated with cancer treatment. This does not extend to services provided for general stress relief, relaxation, or preventative healthcare purposes. The guidance on safer working in close contact services should be followed. So we put that link for you there so you can just make sure that you're up to speed with the guidance. This is the section that we believe is the most relevant to CMA members at this time. Our interpretation of this is that if you are able to demonstrate that your patient or client has a diagnosed health condition or injury that is currently causing severe pain or mobility issues or severely impacting their quality of life, or for cosmetic treatments associated with cancer treatment, you may continue to treat them. Please see the link on close contact services. In closing, we realise this guidance and legislation are confusing. We continue to seek clarification as it develops, and of course we will keep you informed as further changes come through. So this, everybody, is the key paragraph, one at the end. Okay, so what it means, we suggest that if you are a hands-on practitioner, what we strongly suggest, if you're working hands-on with people, you ideally should make sure that they have a diagnosed illness, whether this means you liaising with their doctor or with their primary healthcare provider in order to get written confirmation that this person has a diagnosed health condition or injury, or something that is causing severe pain or mobility issues, or is severely impacting their quality of life, or if you're treating them for cosmetic treatments associated with cancer treatment. Got a lot of treatments in one word, in one paragraph, isn't it? Anyway, but you know where I'm going with that. So ultimately, what we see for CMA members is that CMA members are allowed to stay open if they can deliver their services either online or distance, services, for example, homeopathy or what have you, as long as you can maintain correct social distancing and you are really sticking to the letter of the law, of course. But if you are doing hands-on close contact services, if you can get this confirmation in writing, you are allowed to keep working. Does that help?
Yes.
Great. Excellent. Good.
Well, in fact, because I work with cancer patients anyway, I never ever start with a new patient until I got a doctor's permit.
Yes.
Simply because I think that what I'm doing needs to be on their notes.
Couldn't agree more, Pip. Absolutely. Yeah.
Because if you do anything to anybody,
Yes.
you need to record it.
Yes.
And it needs to be known by other people who will be working in a multidisciplinary field.
Absolutely right. Couldn't agree more. You know, this, I mean, I was trained that way, certainly. And I think, you know, I assume actually most people are trained that way. But extensive note keeping. You know me, I'm all about that paper trail. So goodness, yes, that's actually, I completely agree with you. Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts, anybody? Any questions? Any thoughts about any of that?
Janie, just for a little bit of clarity, if that's okay. So say, for instance, we'll use an example here. Say somebody comes in, they've got an injury like a slip disc or a sciatic injury.
Yes.
That's causing them extreme pain and mobility problems.
Yes.
And they phone up and they say, I can't move, I can barely move my legs, I'm in so much pain. Is it okay to book in for a deep tissue massage or something to help move, like cupping or acupuncture? What do we say?
Yes, if you can get I would personally, this is what I would do. I would get the person to write all of this down, so that, and if you can, you may need to give them guidance, but if you go from this paragraph on the CMA site, if you can explain to them that you are allowed to you are allowed to see them for these particular conditions. So if you can get them to say in writing that they've either got a diagnosed health condition, or they currently have an injury that's causing severe pain, or they have mobility issues, or they're experiencing something that is severely impacting their quality of life, then, you know, in your situation, Joe, I think that would be perfectly adequate.
So that's mobility issues, diagnosed
It's
illness.
all on that. Yeah,
website.
it's that.
Yeah.
Have you got, Joe, if you go to the CMA, I'll show you where it is, everybody, if you need to find it again. Okay, so go to the CMA website, the homepage, right here.
Give me two.
Can you see my?
Give me 2 seconds.
Yeah. Are you seeing?
Give me 2 seconds, Janie.
Okay.
I got kicked out of my computer, so
oh,
I'm like,
okay.
mobile phone trying to sign back. It's the council's computer, and sometimes it kicks you out if you're on a meeting too long.
Well, Joe, just look at, oh, here you go. Right, 1 sec. Let me readmit you. Yeah, it's asking you to come back in again. So, Joe, if you look at my screen where I'm screen sharing, can you see that?
I can see that now, yeah.
Okay, great. All right, lovely. You click on that coronavirus picture. That takes you to the coronavirus page. Megan very kindly put the link there. Okay, so that's just quick links. Then the actual legislation and guidance update that I did today is just here. You scroll down to the bottom of today's update, and this is the big paragraph in bold. You can't miss it. I should have put like flashing stars by it, shouldn't I? But you know, that's where you've got the actual text that you can use. Okay, so if I were you, everybody, you know, because I think we're all going to be very much in the same situation, what I would do, very, very strongly advise you, is to make sure that if your patient is wanting to be treated by you and you're doing hands-on work, body work, then they must say something along these sorts of lines. You can guide them, give them guidance, and explain why. Okay?
Yeah.
Does that help, Joe? Oh, I think Joe may.
I think Joe may. Oh, he's back again, I think.
Oh, Joe, we keep losing you. I'm so sorry.
I'm back.
Hello, darling. Hello, hello, lovely. All right. So, Joe, I was just saying that, you know, you use that final paragraph in this most recent update, and you can guide your patients to be able to use words like, this is severely impacting my quality of life, or this sciatica is leading to mobility issues, you know, those sorts of things. Okay, if you can do that, then you'll be absolutely fine.
Brilliant. Thank you, Janie.
You're very, very welcome. Well, no, I mean, I want to say a huge thank you to a lawyer that's been working with us. I can't say who it is because this person also has somebody very, very, very close in the government, and this is why we're getting all of this and why certain changes have been made for clarification purposes. So, you know, we're very, 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 very lucky. That's all I can say. And I may be able to tell you in the future, but at the moment I've been asked not to, and I shall honour that. Okay, so any further questions, anybody, or shall we swiftly move on? Because I've got people did write in with other questions for this session, which is very nice of them. But anything else anybody wants to know whilst we're still on this topic? We can always come back to it.
Just one very quick question then, Janie, because obviously a lot of this deals with things like massage.
Yeah.
So, for instance, like somebody like myself that does acupuncture, hijama cupping, that kind of thing, I would say would be the key issues with that kind of paragraph.
Absolutely.
You may have more of the therapists who do like crystal healing and Reiki, Indian head massage. Would that not apply for those practitioners?
No, I believe it does apply. I believe it does apply. Yes.
Mental health.
Yes.
I'm thinking of the mental health.
Joe, so the thing is that, you know, if these people are working with people who have a diagnosed health condition or injury that's currently causing severe pain or mobility issues or severely impacting their quality of life, or for cosmetic treatments associated with cancer treatment, this is where, you know, you've got to, this is where they or if they've got personal care services provided for essential medical and health needs which cannot be deferred may continue. So, for example, I don't think Louise is with us today, but Louise has been, she's been going back and forth with lots of questions because she works with pregnant ladies. So, Louise, I hope you're going to be able to catch up with this session. But, you know, for example, when you're working with pregnant ladies who need support, that's a situation that can't be deferred, because, you know, they're pregnant. So that would be another example where she'd be able to carry on with pregnancy massage and so on. You know, obviously, again, you've got to make sure you're within the letter of the law. You've got to keep an eye on the government websites, which is why we've given you all of those links. You've got to understand that we are doing our very, very best to stay on top of all of this. But sometimes you'll find that they'll sneak something through, and, you know, we'll then it'll take us a while to actually get the advice, you know, the legal advice. You know, so we don't want to put something up until we've taken advice. We want to make sure we're telling you things absolutely accurately. We know that we're not misleading you or giving you incorrect advice in any way, because, you know, the onus is on us as your governing body, and, you know, the lead body in the UK for professional members. You know, we've got to make sure we're getting it absolutely right. No ifs, buts and maybes. So that's why we're so very, very careful about what we say, which is why I'm so happy that we can bring this to you today, because my goodness, hallelujah, happy days. You know, this really is the thing that transforms our industry.
Yeah.
It's massive. I mean, this is massive. It's huge.
Because I had a client in for a patient in yesterday, and absolutely on the brink. She's got parasuicidal tendencies, and she's been seeing me weekly for Reiki, and she said it's the only time she can get a chance to get that kind of quiet time to herself. We chat during the Reiki, which is very unusual, but we chat. It gives her a chance to get the healing and to you know, get things off her chest. And last night I said, you can come in, but what I'll do is get you to lie on the bed, and I'll just sit at the side of the bed and we can have a chat, because I'm not sure about the hands-on doing the Reiki. I'll send you a bit of distance Reiki. So I thought that was acceptable, because it's still, you know, she has an illness that if she doesn't get treated, it will impact on her well-being.
Well, that's right, Joe, but also don't forget that mental health is still in the, you know, if you scroll back up again, try and find it. Yes, or other medical or health services, including services related to mental health. These are the ones that may remain open. Okay, so you've got a patient there with mental health issues. Clearly, you are allowed to keep working with that person.
With Reiki,
yes, because you see, it's a very thin line, isn't it? You know, how much counselling you're doing, how much actual Reiki are you doing? You know, it's a very, very difficult thing to say. But you know something, again, please just safeguard yourself by making sure that you've got your paper trail in place. And so that, you know, should anybody ever come knocking, that not that they're likely to, but if they did, you know, it might just take some jealous beauty therapist who's, oh, he's working, oh, I'm not allowed to work, you know, that sort of thing, that kind of nonsense that does go on. You know, again, you've already had a visit from the police who were very happy with the way you were operating. But, you know, just protect yourself by making sure you've got everything, you've got a paper trail, you've got everything in writing, and get the patient to use those words and terms and phrases so that if you had to show something to the police, then they would be able to look at it and say, gosh, okay, fine, yes, this tallies up with what's written on the government's guidance website.
Brilliant, thank you ever so much.
Hey, you're very welcome. Any other questions, anybody? All happy so far? Yes, excellent, good, marvelous. Right, I can stop sharing that screen. We can always come back to it. Right, okay, let's bring us all back in the group. Right, okay, so here we go. Right, okay, so what am I doing here? Right, where am I? Okay, lovely. So yes, I had some questions. Let me go to the questions and see what we've got going on here. Right, okay. Yes. Right, okay, this is from Laura. This says, I saw your email out today and I would like to ask about an imbalance between an overrun NHS mental health team and new startups like mine who would like to grow a client base. I was wondering if there is anything that could be supported by the CMA to see if some work could be outsourced or supported by the private sector to alleviate pressure on the NHS, which is doing its best in difficult times, and will help support small businesses in the private sector. Well, Yeah, it's a lovely idea, but the problem is at the moment everybody's got their hands so full that I can't really see that at the moment we'd be able to approach the NHS and say, can you possibly outsource your mental health care to complementary medical practitioners, because the NHS really has to have, they have to look at the criteria. They'd have to make sure that everybody was essentially singing from the same therapeutic hymn sheet. Everything in the NHS has to be, it's like little tick boxes, you know? And so as a consequence, they have to make sure that that everybody would be delivering services in precisely the same way. Several years ago, in complementary medicine, we went through a process called setting up the NOS, the National Occupational Standards, in various different disciplines. And I was on the committees for various of those. And the idea was not, for example, let's say homeopathy. The idea wasn't to say how homeopathy needs to be done, but by setting a national occupational standard for homeopathy, it set parameters by which a patient could come along to a homeopath who had signed up to the national occupational standards and had been trained according to national occupational standards, so they would know that they would be able to expect this particular minimum set of treatment guidelines. So we set the NOSs. It took many, many years to do. I remember sitting in one meeting where the spelling of homeopathy was debated for 3 hours, whether to have a diphthong or not. So you can see the NOS meetings were really thrilling. It was a white knuckle ride, not. So anyway, you know, we have set national occupational standards across many, many disciplines. If we could bring all of the psychotherapies under one umbrella, which we wouldn't be able to do because they're all so disparate, you know, you've got CBT, you've got Freudian, you've got Jungian, you've got psychosynthesis, you know, they're all so disparate. How would you ever set a national occupational standard for all of those? You could set minimal standards, but, you know, it would be very, very difficult. So no, I don't see at the moment, during the thick of COVID, that we're going to be able to speak to the NHS and say, hey, what about, you know, farming out some of your mental health patients at the moment? Now, if anybody else has a solution that I'm overlooking, I would be really happy. So I don't know if anybody's got any comments about that, or if there's anything you feel that we should try in order to see if we can actually offer ourselves up as an adjunct to NHS care, more so than we're doing at the moment. You'd also have to, you know, it would beg the question as well, would it not? Who pays for the treatment? Would it be the NHS, or would it be the patient themselves? Again, you see, so it's it's a very tricky situation. If you did want to make yourself available, then there are certainly charities that you can volunteer for to actually give mental health support and services. Then, you know, that's a fantastic thing to do. But actually, you know, getting the NHS to pay for any of this would be very tricky indeed at the moment. They're overrun, and I just don't think it's viable to even, or wise, to even start to approach them at the moment. So I don't know how you feel about that, but that's my take on things. Has anybody else got anything else that they would like to contribute to that? Okay, alrighty, lovely. Sounds a bit negative, doesn't it? I don't mean to come off negative, but that's just kind of the way I see it. Right, okay, another question. This is from Carol Lim. I changed careers at the start of 2020, started looking into formulating my own range of skincare. I started selling some of my products via online sales. I've branched out to include online aromatherapy consultations, not massage, following completion of aromatherapy diploma, including studies of essential oils. I'm very active in social and business media platforms, including joining up with an amazing group. One of the CMA members, Amanda Joy Harrison, has given fantastic support, and I did a recording with her on her Wellbeing Wednesday show. But, okay, ... As someone who is newly qualified and in a new field, do you have any advice for me to get myself marketed out there online? What do you think of me offering some free consultations online? Many essential oils in the aromatherapy field can help with coping of stress, which is really rampant at the moment. Yes, of course they can, absolutely. So, what advice do I have for a newly qualified person in a new field, and how does she get herself out there marketed online? Well, what you do is you go to Janie Goddard Masterclasses on Facebook and you join that group, because in that group it's all about practice development, business development, and growing your college and just growing in general from a business perspective within complementary medicine. So there's that. In that group we've also got lots of excellent files. In the files section, I don't know if you know on Facebook groups, but at the top, if you're on your computer, there are several little tabs and you can click on files if you can see it, or there are 3 little dots, ... You click on the 3 little dots and a drop down comes down, and it then says files, videos, and so on. So just click on files. In the files section, you'll find quite a lot of worksheets that I've created for our members and for our group members. And so by all means, print those out and work through them. That's a fantastic way of starting. Also, since the beginning of lockdown, the CMA has been incredibly active when it comes to running tutorials for you week in, week out, to make sure that you have all of the information you need in order to pivot to be online, to set up courses online, to identify your niche, to identify your ideal client, how to set your fees, basically everything you need to know about running a business, branding, marketing, advertising, everything you need to know. How to, yeah, as I said, setting prices. Yeah, loads, absolutely loads. It's all there on the Complementary Medical Association YouTube channel. And then obviously I think Carolyn hasn't done this yet, but then the next thing to do is to join the CMA, because we consistently provide massive membership benefits and support our members every step of the way. It's like becoming part of a great big warm lovely family that are really in your corner cheering you on. So that would be certainly the next step as well. Right, okay, now I think those were the questions I had there. Right, let's just have a wee look. Yes, that click and collect thing. A few people have asked about the click and collect thing. So Ayurveda, herbal medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, homeopathy, any of those where you're actually prescribing things. They probably actually should have put nutrition in there as well. They've obviously just overlooked that. But anything where you're prescribing things, you mustn't run as a pharmacy or a dispensary, but what you can, and be open. So they want you to close the shop per se, but if you are providing remedies, you can actually run it as a click and collect situation. So that's fine. So you can still sell. So that's okay. Right. Okay. Finally, remember, no treatments for general health or preventative care allowed at the moment. And finally, remember, the guidance changes because the guidance is only designed to clarify the legislation. Okay, so I'm just looking to see if there's anything else in my notes. Right.
May I say something,
yes,
Jeannie, just in case we have anyone from Scotland? The click and collect situation has just changed. We are now advised to stay at home, and bakers, coffee shops and things now are not allowing anyone inside the door. Yeah. So you have to, if you are giving out a remedy or whatever, in Scotland, it must be done from someone standing outside the premises, no more inside and in a queue, socially distanced by 2 meters. Yes. So that's just to clarify for Scotland. We're a bit slightly different.
Yes, thank you. That actually does chime with what they put out yesterday for England as well, you know, because they're saying, obviously, you know, you can't go in the shop and, you know, you've got to do your socially distanced click and collect, and overriding all of this. So basically, you know, what's overriding is, you know, social distancing, not going out unless you absolutely have to. You are allowed out for medical treatments and health treatments and so on. But, you know, it's not for general health and it's not for preventative care, which is a shame because we do a lot of that. But literally everything else in that paragraph really does enable us all to practice, because I can't really think of any incidents that somebody, I mean, you know, you may have somebody just coming along to you for general well-being, but I'm fairly sure that you'd be able to, between you, find a rationale for treating them. because generally speaking, people do want to have something, you know, perhaps they have back pain or what have you. And we all know that back pain is one of the things that actually really dramatically impacts on lost days at work. Not that any of us can actually really properly go to work at the moment unless we actually work from home. Right, let's have a little look. Yeah, I think, as far as I can tell, I think that's it from the questions that we had for the group. Joe, what did you want to say?
Just a quick question. Training schools for holistic therapy, obviously a lot of us who have training schools have students. Some of our members who run training schools are a bit unsure whether or not the schools have to close if it's a training school.
Yeah, okay.
So that still applies. And also I noticed on the government guidelines that support groups are still allowed to remain open. So if you have something like a Reiki support group or a group of people that come in for help and advice and meditation, is that classified as a support group?
Yes, interesting. Yeah. Interesting you should say that, because actually a friend of mine, he runs a mental health support group, and yes, he's allowed to stay open. I think it would be difficult to argue a support group for Reiki, because you think about the government, you've got to think about them because they don't understand what Reiki is. So what we don't want to do is put the government in a position where somebody panics because they're trying to save their own bacon, basically, and says, oh no, absolutely no complementary medical offering allowed at all, end of story. So we've got to be very careful that we don't overstep the mark, and that we are respectfully and intelligently sticking to the guidelines. So I think it could be a challenge unless the people coming to your Reiki group are actually saying, yes, I'm seeking this group support for my mental health issues, or I'm seeking this group support for my physical pain issues. Then if you were to explain that Reiki involves the laying on of hands in a therapeutic way, okay, I wouldn't even get into the discussion of distance Reiki, because that's just going to blow their minds. I mean, that's far too woo, isn't it, for somebody working in the government. So don't antagonize them, but look at what we've put on there and look at the framework that we've given you. We're not trying to find loopholes. We're not trying to cheat. We're not trying to do anything dodgy, and we would never, ever advise that, obviously. It's our job as the CMA to make sure that you are operating safely and within the government guidelines. So, you know, I would say just look at it carefully, Joe, and if you can hang that Reiki group session on a peg that is dealing with pain, for people dealing with pain, or for people dealing with mental health issues, that sort of thing, then I would say that sounds okay. But again, you know, can you operate safely? Can you keep people 2 meters apart? Can you keep them, you know, with full PPE and all the things that you have to do in order to keep those people safe? This is the other thing, everybody. You know, remember, we've put that link in for you, operating safely during COVID. So, you know, how to run your business safely during COVID. It'll cover PPE. Look at Public Health England for PPE and all of that. You've got to make sure you've got all of your ducks in a row when it comes to all of that as well.
Right, thank you. I don't run a Reiki session, but right. I had somebody who I know does.
Right.
And said, what was the opinion on it? And I was like, well, I don't know. The guidelines are so murky.
Sorry.
You've got to be very careful. One thing I did want to say before I forget, this might be something useful to members. I found these in Poundland the other day. It's a shield.
Oh, great. It's difficult to see on your screen.
Really, really, really comfortable.
Oh, right.
And it's a really comfortable shield. It's got felted front to it, and they're sealed, and they're £2 each.
Oh.
And you can get 3 or 4 uses. What I tend to do is spray them with antibac and make sure that they're clean. But they're really, really, really comfortable, and they don't steam your glasses up when you've got your mask and your shield on.
Yeah.
It's £2 from Poundland. Not that I work for Poundland, because I don't. But I just thought they're really good for suggestions to any of the members if they need facials.
Terrific. That's really fantastic, Joe. Thank you. Really helpful. Brilliant. Okay, loves. Anything else at all that you would like to cover today? Okay. All right.
There is a question in the chat box, Jeannie.
Oh, is there? Sweet. Thank you. So, you know, I haven't got my chat on. I do beg your pardon. What my like? Okay. Sandra. Oh, yes. Sandra says, I've been told by the local authority this week that complementary medicine is not on the list, so cannot work unless they go to a referral situation. Is it worth my while going back to them with this new information on practice health kinesiology? Yes. Yes. They are. They're actually misadvising you. Actually, this is the thing. You know, the legislation is very, very clear. Please go print out the legislation, print out our advisory as well, and say this is my governing body. In actual fact, if you bear with me 1 second, I'm just going to go. No, I don't want to go to there. I want to go back to here. Just a second. I've got something that came through from. No, I don't want that one. Sorry, guys. Just 1 second. I'm trying to find it for you. It's it's somebody's email, and I just want to. Here we go. Right. This is Louise, who. Has written to Theresa May, as this lady I was telling you about, regarding pregnancy services. So let me just come back to Zoom, and I'm going to take you into that page. Oh, Dr. Nair. Okay, 1 second. Right, share screen. Okay, so let me share the screen here. Okay, so let me move you guys over to the side as well. All right, so this is quite interesting. This is the response from Theresa May's. This is Maya Mann, Office of the Right Honourable Theresa May, and I gather she is Louise's local MP. Now, guidance from professional bodies. This is from Theresa May's office. Okay, guidance from professional bodies. The CHNC maintains a register. It's just a register. It's not a membership organisation. It is accredited by the PSA. That's fine. Now, they've got various bits and pieces of information and guidelines. That's absolutely fine. Right, let me just see, because there's something in here that is where she mentions the Complementary Medical Association, where Theresa May's office mentions the Complementary Medical Association as well. Let me see if I can find it. Nope, not there. Might be slightly further back. Sorry about this, everybody. It's a bit unprofessional scrolling up and down. Here we go. Beg your pardon. Beg your pardon. The constituent states they're a member of the Complementary Medical Association. As mentioned, this not-for-profit organisation has also provided, and Theresa May's office has linked to our coronavirus guidance. Okay, so what I would do is I would go with this. If you can, I'm just going to, if I take out the, yeah, what I'll probably do is I will take out the personalization of all of this, and I will drop it into the group. So it's right at the bottom. It's the second paragraph up from the bottom. Let me drop it into our group. And you should theoretically be able to get it from there. Let me stop screen sharing. I hope that helps, Sandra. Can I do that here?
Yeah, I think it will do. I mean, I just did a quick inquiry just to say, who do I write to? And this is what I'm wanting to ask. And I got a reply back, and it didn't give me a chance to do all the details in Joe's letters with all the risk assessment, all the things I was going to throw at them. Yeah. So, and they said, you know, come back. I've got a name now. They said, come back to me if you want any more information. And they basically just said, this is the list. And they didn't consider other medical services, anything to do with complementary.
Right.
I mean, you can argue a lot of things are complementary. I do allergy testing for people who are getting nowhere with the NHS and they can't get an appointment and various things. They could have discomfort, pain, any kind of symptom. So you can argue by doing that, you're providing that service. The kinesiology works on all the you know, all the other levels, physical, emotional, whatever.
Yes.
So you can argue that anything I'm doing, you know, is within that sphere, but we also can work remotely and do, you know, I do have a remote practice. So I do distance sessions. We have a telehealth on my booking screen so people can do one-to-one that way. The KF originally said, if you can remote work, keep remote working. So it's balancing that up. I mean, the only thing what bothers me in this particular time is there's no end date again. We're having to sort of just say, I'll get back in touch when I know what's happening. I've got testimonials from clients this week, which have been brilliant as well.
Good.
So I can kind of chuck all that at them. And it's just, you know, am I wasting my time? Am I just going to get the same knockback? You know, because it's almost like you're picking, well, this says this, and they could just say, well, I read it this way. That, you know, it's a bit messy, isn't it?
It is, yes. It's really, it's very annoying, isn't it? Because the thing is that, you know that you're doing the right thing by the legislation, you're also doing the right thing by the guidance. And the problem is you've clearly got somebody that's just a bit too lazy to actually sit down and actually read the guidance properly, or the legislation. So I would go with that letter, and as I say, that second paragraph up from the bottom actually names us as your governing body, and shows that, you know, that we are recognised by Theresa May's office. And Joe's going to chime in as well, actually. Yes, Joe, please go ahead.
Just unmute myself. Hi, Sandra. Sorry to hear that you've had that little bit of a block. What I tend to do is, and advise people, if any local authority or anybody in an authority positions gives you an answer like, no, you can't do this, what I would then come back with is, well, can you show me the legislation that you've seen and your interpretation of that, or your explanation of it? And that kind of frightens them a little bit.
Yeah, they did print that little thing where it says NHS services open with the chiropody and all the others, and other other health services. He printed that out and he said, you're not on the list.
Yeah. But then what I would do then is say, well, you know, what is your interpretation of that? And send them that letter that Janie's just put forward and say, well, actually, this is the interpretation of that. Does this help you to understand that, you know, the little bits and pieces aren't always clear, and these are the added bits that you need to be looking at as well? Because sometimes they will just refute it without looking or understanding the legislation. And you just got to make sure that, you know, they can hold themselves accountable to the decisions that they make. And there's no harm in saying, is there anybody in higher authority that I can speak to? Because most departments have what they call a director. So an officer comes under a director. One of the officers is a Mr. Khan for Worcestershire Regulatory Service, but his boss is called Sue Garrett. And, you know, sometimes it might be advisable to go to the person a step higher because they have more resources at hand.
Yeah, this was one of the things I was trying to find a name of the offices and even departments, and it's impossible to. There's nothing. This is our services, and it'll say environmental this and something that. And I only found it by reading a report that was somewhere in there, a policy.
My advice on that, Sandra, would be, when you do phone your local authority up, they normally have an answering machine, and they said, oh, press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 29 for this, press 30 for that. And then it says, for all other details, please hold the line. I always hold the line, and when the operator comes through, politely say who you are and what you're phoning in, and can you direct me to the person or the name of the person that deals with X, Y, and Z, and they'll have a whole list on their computer of all the officers, and then you can ask specifically for whoever's in charge of regulatory service or whoever's in charge of environmentals, and they'll have a whole list of names. So, because if you phone up and you click, say, environmental services on the PIN phone, you just get directly put through to an officer that just answers the phone and that's it. You know, not saying that they're not important, because they are, but you'll get that person and that's the only person you'll ever have contact with. But if you wait for a name and ask for a name, that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I emailed them because I was eager to get it done. And I emailed and I thought, have I done this the wrong way around? And I thought, well, I may not get a response, but they responded quite quickly. And then I thought, oh, bugger, I've done this the wrong way around. But yeah, I'll persevere.
Can I also suggest that you look at the council website? I know that my local one has a very detailed list, and it also gives department telephone number and also the personal email address.
Do you know, I couldn't find anything on Harrogate Borough Council. I couldn't. I was just going round in circles, which is why I emailed. I was just pulling my hair out. There was nothing with a name. There wasn't even a department list. There was just the services we offer. And it kept talking about bin collections or something else. And it's not a good website.
No.
I mean, you know, these people, they don't want you to have the name because you go to them and they don't want to be pestered. So on pain of death, the name doesn't get put out there. And I think that's what I was getting. Yeah, I'll give it another go, because given what I do, I probably could come under those headings, you know, multiple times. But I obviously need to have somebody from the local authority to say, yes, that's okay, you can work. We still need to go down that route, don't we, rather than just assume now we've got this other information.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
There's also, Jamie, also what we find at Redditch Borough Council is that as soon as you find out who the chief executive of your council is as well, you can email direct to the chief executive as well and say that you want your email passed to somebody that's able to deal with this. And chief executives generally 9 out of 10 times are pretty good, and they know all their directors. And what I find with the chief executive of our council is they then send it to the next person down in line. They never send it right to the bottom. They always send it to, for instance, Guy Revens is our environmentals. He'll send it straight to Guy, and then Guy will deal with it or delegate it whatever way. But, you know, anything that's confusing or complicated, you know, I would go straight to the top with it, and that way, you know, you're speaking to the best person that's going to be able to make the best decision.
Yeah, I think I've just got it passed on to somebody who's just glanced at it, said no, sent it straight back, finished, I've done with that, I don't have to look at it again. I just need to go through all this, you know, the letter and, you know, the stuff that we've got at our clinic, the risk assessment, the investment we've all made because we're all self-employed in all the PPE. You couldn't get a safer place.
No.
You know, we've got podiatrists and chiropractors, not chiros, those type of people, osteopaths, they're working and it's open, the clinic's open. And I had, like, you know, 3 weeks bookings ahead of me. I've just had to mess around with, but I'll give it another go.
Yeah, the irony is that I think that we're so sort of belt and braces, aren't we, that, you know, our use of PPE and whatnot, I think, is generally absolutely superb. You know, Mum went to see an acupuncturist not so long ago, no PPE whatsoever.
Oh God.
You know, so it just, I was horrified. I just really was, yeah, anyway. But, you know, that's their state. I know a question that came up, sorry. One thing that did come up was, somebody wrote to me, and I think it was just something in passing on Facebook, and I suddenly thought, gosh, do you know, I actually need to address that in the group. And it was along the lines of, beauty therapies are going, are aligning themselves with the government under sort of a banner, a bit like the professional standards, the PSA or something like that. Which is fine and well and good. And the lady was saying, you know, why doesn't the CMA do that? Wouldn't it be a good idea? And I was actually saying, no, it's not a good idea. We really, I feel very strongly about this because, you know, lessons learned by looking at what happened to chiropractic and so on. and I guess I'm sort of coming very much from the homeopathy place, because that was my first discipline that I trained in. And in homeopathy, we'll do anything other than go, you know, sort of ruled and regulated and registered and so on, because the problem is, as soon as you start giving the government power over what you do as a practitioner and your work, it's game over. You know, if we start giving people that don't even understand, they don't have a hope in hell of understanding what we do as Reiki practitioners, as healers, as reflexologists and the like. You know, they wouldn't understand it. They couldn't possibly. And so the point is that they would be legislating and regulating something they don't know anything about, and therefore they would squash what we do out of all existence. And that's the reason why the CMA is not pushing towards more regulation in the complementary medical industry and field and profession. Does that make sense? Does anybody think that's good, or really probably that we ought to look for some sort of regulation? I'm interested to know your thoughts. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. I think what we need to do is have the government recognise that our work is an essential service and it's an essential part of people's health and well-being. But what I find working in local government and being one of those politicians, the minute you get it regulated,
Yes.
then they can put a price on that as well.
Yeah.
And what they want then, they're going to make you register for this, and you've got to pay for that, and to be on this you've got to pay for this, and it can make it very, very, very expensive.
Dreadfully.
And that's why the prices of everything, once it's regulated, goes up, and it's our patients that suffer then.
Yeah.
So I think state regulation is just, I don't know if you're old enough to remember the old state registered nurses.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Nursing was state registered, and the training that state registered nursing had to do, and then they got rid of the state register and generalized the nursing, and it was a lot easier and a lot more better for nurses. But you know, anything state registered comes with a price, and it comes with a tie of your hands as well, so you've got to be very careful. And
Yeah.
like you say, they don't fully understand the work that we do.
Yeah.
And some of the things that we do and the importance of it.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I know with Worcestershire County Council, you have to register your acupuncture practice. If you're an acupuncture practitioner, you have to register your practice. You have to register your building, and that's 290 quid already down before you've even opened your practice, and you have to do that even before you can put a needle in somebody, and it's because it's a way of making money.
Yes, that's right. And you know, we see it in America. You know, my partner is American, and he's a chiropractor, and it's very he has 2 doctorates. The first is chiropractic, and that's what he does. He has to renew his registration every 2 years. It's thousands of dollars, and it's not just that, you know, that's not all you have to pay for, but to renew your license, you actually have to do this really intensive training course. So he has to spend 2 weekends away every couple of years doing these phenomenally expensive trainings. I mean, thousands of dollars. So it's not just the actual, you know, registration that he has to pay for, but it's the things that you have to do in order to qualify for that re-registration. It is, you know, and that's what would happen. That's exactly it, Joe. You've hit the nail on the head. So I see it firsthand, and it is absolutely, you know, if we go the American way where everything is regulated, we're on a slippery slope. That's, you know, we have so much freedom here. A lot of people don't realize, you know, I travel around the world an awful lot, and yeah, you know, it really is a case of we are very, very well off in the UK because the government generally has their hands out of the complementary medicine pie. So let's keep it that way. That's another reason that we don't want to antagonize them or push them or what have you. So that's Jeanette's thoughts for you. Joe, thank you very much for reminding me also. Reminder of the WhatsApp chat group for help and support, absolutely, with a caveat. we put together a WhatsApp group, and I don't know the number. Roberta, if you can pop the number in, because I don't have it to hand, unfortunately. I mean, I can get it, but it means me scrabbling around my computer again, and I don't want to subject you guys to that again. Anyway, so we put it out yesterday, no, Friday today. Where do the weeks go? It's nuts, isn't it? I feel as though it's nearly Christmas again. It's been a busy time. So we put out this newsletter on Wednesday saying that we've got this really nice WhatsApp group, which is moderated by Joe, by Roberta, by myself. And we said, please be respectful and note that, you know, if you've got questions about legislative issues, who can work, how to contact your local authority, any membership questions, that sort of thing, contact us, and you know, we're more than happy to help you. No sooner had that WhatsApp group gone live, you know how you can actually get people's telephone numbers from WhatsApp. And we were quite happy that WhatsApp is a really safe, secure platform. And we did get some negative response from people saying, oh no, you know, there's this thing with WhatsApp and Facebook, and Facebook will soon have all your WhatsApp data. Well, the only two pieces of data that Facebook will have is your telephone number and your email address, which they already have anyway. If you have a Facebook account, then Facebook already has that. If you have a WhatsApp account, Facebook already has it anyway. They're not looking at the individual conversations, because quite honestly, Mark Zuckerberg doesn't really care about what we talk about our local authorities and the best way of contacting them. So you know, there's a lot of people out there who really are ultra paranoid about, oh no, they're going to be looking at what we're saying. They really aren't. It's certain things will flag up. You know, if we were to say certain words all in a row, like atomic, like something like, and I'm not even going to say it because you just don't know who's listening, but you know, things like that, they do flag. Obviously they flag because of security issues, but the sort of things we're talking about wouldn't flag. I mean, you know, so it's fine, just and they're encrypted, they're double-end encrypted, so we can have, you know, we can have conversations in the WhatsApp group. But we did say to people, please be respectful, please understand that, you know, it's just to be used for that. Last night, I got bombarded with people messaging me to my personal telephone number saying, oh, what about this? Oh, I've just seen this thing about Ayurveda and herbal medicine and blah, blah, and so on and so forth. And other people saying, well, what does it mean if this, and what does it, and actually I had to turn my phone off. And actually it then meant that I was sort of like really wide awake, because it's all coming through really late at night, you know, 10:30, 11 o'clock and so on, and that really wakes you up. So so please don't message me direct. By all means, if you want to send me a friendly message me directly, that's lovely. My WhatsApp is for friends and family, that's absolutely fine. But if it's a business type question or a work related question, either keep it to daytime and keep it in the group. Keep it in the group and keep it in, you know, the right group and at daytime, if you don't mind, because otherwise, you know, Roberta will be checking it, Joe will be checking it, and between us, we'll all just be run ragged. You know, we've got to conserve our energies as well. You know, otherwise we'll be no good to anybody. So that's, you know, just a quick request. I think everybody in this group is probably totally gets it. But, you know, there are some little, you know, some people out there in the Wild West who think, aha, a phone number, I can contact this person direct. So please be respectful. That's all I'm saying for the ones that are listening in on the replay. Right, okay. So yes, anybody wishing to join, we need your membership number, your CMA membership number and your mobile number. The CMA mobile number for the WhatsApp group is that number that Roberta's just put there. Oh, this is hilarious. I've got my green screen on and I've just disappeared. Oh, look at that, so funny, because I've got a green dress on. That's hilarious. Right, okay. And of course, yes, you can turn off group notifications. Yeah, actually, Roberta, I had the group notifications turned off because I thought, well, I don't want this pinging all night, which is when people started pinging me on my own personal. I think you may have had some as well. Anyway, so that's it, everybody. Here endeth the sermon. I've got to dash unless there are any more questions. And I hope this has been useful. I think it's extremely positive. thanks for the thumbs up. I see you there, Jill, and I see, hey, thank you, Sandra. Thanks, Pip. Thanks, everybody. It's so lovely to be with you. And it's really nice actually having this smaller group, because we have been able to chat. And it's just a little bit of a nice difference, isn't it, from how things are normally. Jill, did you want to say something, darling?
No, I didn't. I was just saying
bye. Okay.
Say,
yeah, lots of love, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a super weekend. You're all fabulous.